Welcome back. As always, be sure to leave a comment if you have anything to add to this video. Any comments about Borderlands 3 in general? Any comments about the series that we just did on the channel of the Revisiting Borderlands franchise? And yeah, because we are finally done. We have completed the entire main campaign of Borderlands 3 again. And oh boy, my opinion hasn't changed a whole lot. So yeah, with that out of the way, let's just get right into the review of it. So right off the bat, the general thing I feel about this game is really what I've been repeating throughout most of the playthrough, is that this game has a ton of fantastic ideas, but just odd execution. I don't want to say poor execution, because some of it works really well. Just not as great as I would have done it personally. Now, obviously, I'm not a writer. I've said this before in the past multiple times. I'm not a writer. I'm not a game designer. And obviously, these things take years and years with a lot of people. I don't want to step or talk bad about any one particular person's job, because overall, I still think the game is great. The gameplay is super fun. It's fantastic, and a lot of really cool ideas were put into this game. The problem is they were executed weirdly. So that's kind of what the bulk of this video is going to be, is everything I thought was great about the game and how it should have or could have been just a little bit better if they did things differently, and also some things they just did absolutely horribly that I don't understand why they did it. So that's really the bulk of it. Overall, I still say it's a fun game. It's fantastic. The guns, the gameplay, everything they added gameplay wise, fantastic. No real downside there, other than I still think that they gave away a little too many legendaries throughout the main campaign, but that's a very minor gripe. And I think they did tone it down from my original playthrough, because I remember originally playing through this, oh my god, it felt like every main mission I got at least one legendary, and that's ridiculous. But that's all besides the point. Let's jump right into all the great ideas that they had. Starting off with probably the weakest part of the game, but also one of the coolest ideas they had, was the Calypso twins, was the villains. I thought having Siren twins be the villain, fucking awesome idea. First of all, just having a Siren as a villain, really cool idea, because Sirens, obviously, they're still very mysterious beings. We really don't know a whole lot about them in the universe, even though we've played as, well, 3 up to this point, including this game. So the fact that not only do we up against one of them, we're up against twins, which really opens up the possibility to, okay, what are Sirens and what's going on here? Really cool idea. I love that aspect of it. I love the idea that they run a cult, that it could actually combine all the bandit clans under one banner. Very cool idea, having all the bandit clans organized and be under that cult-like status, underneath these Sirens. That all makes sense. That is fantastic. Such a cool idea. However, where they really went the wrong way with it is making them streamers. Now, this is just personal opinion, but, obviously comedy is subjective or whatever. I like a lot of the comedy in this game, but that whole streamer culture, LOL in your face, smash cut, old style MLG videos that they made, I don't like it. I get it, it was supposed to be cringy, but it wasn't cringy in a fun way, it was just cringy in a, okay, seriously, stop kind of way, And like I said, that's subjective, that's just my opinion. Maybe you guys loved it out there. I just really thought it was hard to sit through, especially those videos, and they weren't even remotely intimidating. That's the thing, is they're Sirens. They're supposed to be psycho. They stole Lila's power shard in the beginning and killed Maya, and then immediately were like, LOL, check out this video we made of it. What? They're crazy. But it was never crazy in an intimidating way. It was just crazy in a, oh my god, okay, an exhausting way. It's hard to kind of decipher between it, but towards the end of the campaign, where after Troy died and Tyreen kind of got serious, when it got to the whole family thing with Typhon and Leon, and she actually got serious, that was really cool. And in the moment, in that video, I complimented it when that happened. I'm like, this is fantastic. This should have been, maybe not the whole game, but it was very reminiscent of in Borderlands 2 after Angel died, when Jack like took a turn and got serious. It really seemed like they were trying to mimic that kind of transition. And after that transition, it was fantastic. If we got more of that, rather than just in the last, like, what, 1, maybe 2 main missions, I think was all we got to see that. It would be so cool. Like, if from the start, she was at least intimidating, not just... It really felt like a spoiled, bratty kid that took nothing seriously, which a psychopath that takes nothing seriously should be terrifying. Like, if she's just murdering people left and right, has these awesome powers, and just doesn't give a shit about human life, that should be terrifying. Or at least, like, to the point where we have to stop this because she's crazy. Like, who knows what she's gonna do? And it never felt that way, at least to me personally. It always just came off as cringy, and not in the fun way. Because I like comedy cringe. Comedy cringe is great. And I think that's what they were going for here, but it just never landed with me. And also, speaking of the villains and great ideas, right? Because the whole time Troy is set up as like almost a parasite to Tyreen. That's a very cool dynamic of he needs Tyreen to survive, but she, you know, keeps him alive as like an underling thing. Very cool dynamic. Well then, Troy finds out he can siphon Maya's powers. Now he doesn't need Tyreen. He's got a little chip on his shoulder like, yeah, you've been kind of holding me down this whole time. And it really seemed like they were going to go in the direction of, oh, okay, so he's like pushing back against Tyreen a little bit. And the only time we really got to see that was, there's a few audio bits here and there, but it really seemed like that's the direction they were going. But the only time we really saw that was in Troy's final boss fight, where he has to siphon off of Tyreen in order to charge the key, and then, oh, and Tyreen's like screaming bloody murder, like, oh my god, he's gonna kill me, stop it, you gotta slow down, Troy, you're gonna kill me. And then we kill him, Troy's dead, and she like sucks him up and that's it. Okay, that should have, again, this is personal opinion, looking back, hindsight is 20/20, I'm just one guy, I'm not some big team, but if I was making that decision, why would they not continue from there? That would be a beautiful splitting point for them two. And then Troy goes off and does his own thing. And not necessarily that we have to pick a side, who do we want, like, whose side are we with? Which would be kind of cool to explore that. Like, well, now do we have to team up with Tyreen to stop Troy? Or is Troy, like, joining the Crimson Raiders in a way? But personally, I think it'd be cool if we was like a 3-way faction war of Troy has his followers, Tyreen has her followers, and then there's us and the Crimson Raiders. And I guess Atlas too, but anyway. But have like some kind of 3-way war, or 3-way race war, all seeing who can get and open the Great Vault faster. That's, personally, I think that's the direction that they were kind of headed. And it's really a shame that we never really got to see that fleshed out. It was just one boss battle where Troy was really, really directly pushing back against Tyreen's influence, and then he dies, and that's the end of it. We don't really get to see where that goes or where his story would have gone, but they were setting up something really fascinating, so it's just a real shame that we never got to see where that went. Speaking of cool things that, well, I guess this did go somewhere, just the whole family dynamic between the twins being Typhon DeLeon's kids, and they felt like they had a birthright to the Great Vault because they were born these super powerful sirens to the original Vault Hunter, and they were like kind of trapped on this planet, isolated from most of the world for a good chunk of their lives. It's a very fascinating idea, and I guess that's not so much fits in the wasted potential thing, because I think they did that well. Like I said, my favorite part of the story where it really starts to ramp up is right at the end. It's just a shame that we never really got to see it go anywhere, because it's so close to the end of where Tyreen finally snaps and be like, see, look at your baby girl, Dad, I'm gonna go eat all the suns and I'm gonna be the only star in the sky. Very cool, very intimidating, and it really felt like a threat that we had to stop. Up until then, it was a threat we had to stop, obviously, because, oh, she's opening vaults, she's getting more powerful, we gotta stop her and get to the next monster so she can't, get more powerful. I don't know. It just felt like it was really kicking up at the end, and then it just kind of ends. And speaking of the ending, whoo boy, I was not happy with that ending, because, my god, again, wasted potential. Fucking awesome idea. Have the destroyer from the first game not actually be the destroyer, but instead that's just like part of the destroyer, and the real destroyer is actually encased in Pandora. The entire planet of Pandora is like the sole purpose is not sole purpose, but the main purpose of that planet was to be a prison for a giant monster and have the moon as the key. Like, the vault's that big, the key needs to be that big. Such a cool idea for some awesome giant monster fighting battle. And then it's just, oh, Tyreen opens it and like becomes one with the entity, and then it's a monster like that's not even the size of the warrior. That makes no sense. Why would it not be some giant like old school God of War-ian fucking Titan we're fighting? Why is it just, yeah, it's like it's a big tentacle thing with Tyreen sticking out of it grossly, and like half her body's melted and shit. Like, it's a cool design for a monster, but why is it so small? Like, it was barely bigger than the destroyer in the first game. I was picturing a planet-sized prison should have a slightly smaller than sized planet of a monster. And I was actually listening to that one podcast that they released earlier this year, and it sounds like that was the original plan for Borderlands 2, was that Pandora was supposed to be, or like basically become a monster, and you're supposed to like just shoot lasers from space. It's like, okay, maybe not shoot lasers from space, because it's all about guns and stuff, so why would the final boss fight not be about guns? And they pointed out that in the podcast as well. But have something bigger, have something grander. That, for how big they were hyping up what this giant destroyer monster was supposed to be, it very much felt like Borderlands 1. Like, they were hyping up this vault, it's supposed to be this giant monster, it's the destroyer, oh my god. And then it was just a lame fight that was just a bullet sponge. And then they're like, okay, so we're fixing it in this game. We're fixing that mistake. Okay, we're gonna have this destroyer now. That was just a part of the destroyer. That's not the real destroyer. But this thing is a whole planet-sized thing. And then it was just this tiny thing that merged with Tyreen. And it was just fucking disappointing. Like, it really felt like a full circle of the Borderlands 1 fight. It was terrible. Like, why? And then the whole, oh, well, it's still opening. So I guess that was only part of the power? Is that the idea behind it? Was it wasn't fully open? And that's why Lilith had to go and sacrifice herself at the end? That makes more sense, but it was still a very lame fight that they were hyping up to be something super cool. And yeah, Lilith sacrificing herself, I can see that. It's a fitting end to her story. She's been kind of the main focus for 2 and 3, and I guess you could argue 1, because, being one of the main playable characters. But, oh man, it's just didn't seem like a worthwhile sacrifice. It just kind of came out of nowhere. They didn't hype it up. She just got her powers back, and then boom, there she goes. And then to end it with fucking modern pop song that not my style of music, whatever. It's a very popular song for a reason. A lot of people like it. That's fine. But it was just very on the nose of, oh, she's the Firehawk. This girl's on fire. It makes sense. Like, that makes sense to me. Yeah, but that's not a very Borderlands-y song. Like, when I hear songs like ain't no like No Rest for the Wicked, like Shortchange Hero, like most songs by The Heavy. Well, not most, but a good chunk of songs by The Heavy. The Put on the Line, the song they made for Borderlands 3. Even a lot of the soundtrack from Tales from the Borderlands. A lot of them at least feel more like they belong in Borderlands. The licensed songs, too, included in that. This Girl's on Fire was just a very popular pop song at the time. Or maybe even before then, I don't remember what it was like, but it was just, it felt more like, oh, here's a popular song. Oh, this girl is on fire. She's the Firehawk. Okay, I get it, but that's bad. That's not good. That's, it doesn't fit the vibe of the game or the moment, and is a terrible send-off for Lilith. But I was getting carried away there. So back to great ideas that poor executions. Maya having an apprentice. Fantastic idea. I love that. Even if they don't really need to explain it that much. Like a lot of things I feel like they should have explained more. But the whole Maya just like, hey, I don't know how I know. You know, some mystical siren shit. We don't really know a whole lot about the sirens. But I know she's gonna be a siren. Like I can just tell. I can feel it in my siren mystical mojo, whatever. Alright. Good enough. Sirens are mysterious, they have weird powers. Fine. Suspension of disbelief. Cool idea, just in general. Just to give her an apprentice, someone to train that she hopes will probably be like a very powerful siren. And probably, hopefully, try to avoid a Calypso situation of how they had siren powers and doesn't sound like their dad hid it, but at least tried to hide them from the world so they couldn't use the powers for anything. Regardless, my having an apprentice, cool idea. I'm all on board. And even though I gave her a lot of shit, Ava as a character, not a bad idea. Have it, you know, the fine typical bratty teen of, yeah, why am I studying all the time? I should be out there busting ass, being a badass, yeah. Okay, I get it. You know, young teen, it's hard to see the big picture, hard to think like an adult, hard to see where training is going to go. Why you gotta train so hard. Understandable. However, after she basically directly got Maya killed, immediately lashes out Lilith, it puts me on edge because I like Maya as a character so much and she should have been in the game more and should have had a bigger role. Because if you haven't played Borderlands 2, that's not a very impactful character death. Like, she should have been in the game more to be more impactful to new fans, personally. And so we can actually spend some time with her for returning fans. So, her death really doesn't serve a very big purpose, like, emotionally. And she should have been in the game more to flesh it out. And then we could have seen that relationship between Ava and Maya more before Ava just gets Maya killed and then just bees a little pissy brat about it. But okay, that's fine. Even if they did it the way they did it, fair enough. Now we need to see Ava's arc. And they clearly set up Ava to go on an arc to, like, atone. Like, be like, okay, oh man, like, Maya's gone, I'm so sad about it. But seeing something about her coming to terms with that, accepting it, and then becoming a siren because of it, or becoming a better person, I guess, because of it. Like, seeing her death, seeing her sacrifice, realizing it's her fault, and then using that as a driving factor to be a better person would be a very fun arc. Not fun arc, because, you know, Maya dies, but a very interesting arc to see play out. And I don't know why we don't see that. It's very upsetting. I assume it's just because there's a lot going on. You can only have so much time dedicated to so many different things. I remember seeing there was a deleted scene that kind of touched into that, about, like, Maya having a funeral and Ava, like, kind of coming to terms with that. But that's a deleted scene. That's not in the game, so that doesn't count for her character arc. And then at the very end, Lilith's saying, "Alright, Ava, you're in charge now." Fucking put Tannis in charge. She's a scientist. She's also a siren now. Like, that makes so much more sense. Why? Ava's just some kid. Some bratty kid that got Maya killed. That's all she's done to the story. And now it's just gifted siren powers? She's done nothing. Like, I don't hate her idea as a character. It's very cool. Like, having a siren apprentice. Having some kid, some, like, bratty teen who, like, is stupid, Because, yeah, we've all been like that in the past. Like, that's how most people are. But then seeing her character growth. Going through and, like, seeing how she evolves as a person and grows after Maya's death. Realizing her play in Maya's death and then growing as a person because of that. That would be such a cool character arc to see, and we just didn't get to see it in the game. I assume it's because of time constraints, but that kind of also goes into what I was talking about earlier. And I'm going to make a whole video about it, but now I guess I can kind of wrap it up here of how, where they teased the whole, oh, to be continued, I genuinely think they should have actually ended the game there and been a to be continued. Just make, like, so ever how much long you're on Echo de Feo, put that much time back. Give Ava that arc. Give more time for Brick and Mordecai and Tiny Tina. Give more time to see, like, Vaughn reunite with Reese. Give more time to flesh out, like, Clay and Lorelei and all these other new characters that I don't give a shit about. I don't remember most of them. Like, this playthrough was genuinely me being reintroduced to most of these characters, because my first playthrough, I simply forgot they were even characters because they left that little of an impact on me because they're barely in there. They just kind of show up and then leave. The only one I really remember was Jacobs, and that's because he was tied so directly with Hammerlock, who was already a character I really enjoyed. Plus, he actually was in the story quite a bit, and I mean, he's Jacobs. We kind of already knew he existed in the universe in the first place. That's not hard for character to remember. But all these new characters, nothing really was very interesting about most of them. And that's unfortunate. Because, like, yeah, having Lorelei, like, some badass, just random coffee drinking whatever, that seemed like she didn't even really want any part of this, but now has to lead a resistance clan against Malawan because her town's being invaded. Cool idea. Like, just one of those, like, unlikely hero situations where she didn't ask for it, she didn't want to be, but now she's got to lead this ragtag group of people. Alright, cool concept. Team up with Atlas, very cool. But we don't get to spend any time with her, and every time we do spend with her, it's just about a stupid coffee joke. That's not funny at all. It's funny maybe the first time you can get a little chuckle like, ha, yeah, I'm nothing without my morning coffee. Yeah, people are like that, ha 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 ha. And that's it. End of joke. No more with the coffee. That cannot be your entire personality. It's so dumb. It's ridiculous. Same thing with Clay. Clay's just, oh, he's a old bounty hunter cowboy guy. Okay, we have tons of those. That's just such a stereotype that nothing really seemed to stick out with him. At least nothing I can remember. Even after this playthrough, it was like, okay, so he used to lead a group called the Rogues, and then they split up or got killed, and he's sad about that. Understandable, but I don't know. Nothing about it really stuck with me, which is unfortunate. And that's why I think that they really should have just cut the Necro de Feo section from this game, spent that time, went back, dedicated more time to those side characters, to Ava's plotline, to fleshing out Maya as a character more than just, oh, here she is, remember her? Okay, she's dead now. What? And then made Necro de Feo its own game, really fleshed out, made it feel like an entire alien planet, even alien compared to Pandora, which is an alien planet to us. That would be such a cool idea. But that's just my thought. What do you guys think? That's what all I really have to say about this. Overall, I really enjoyed the game. It's really fun. But the story just took some very, very weird directions that I personally think were the wrong directions. But that's just me personally. What do you guys think? Am I being too harsh on it? Do you think if they did a great job, like I think they did a great job. That's poor choice of words. But do you think that they did everything they could fantastically? What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Now we're going to be moving on to the Borderlands 3 DLC. So I'm excited to do that because I played through them all, but I never really paid attention when I was playing through it. So I'm really excited to see that. So thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.